YouTube, what's good? Welcome back over to the channel, Spencer D. I am back with another video, and I wish this was a video of inspiration. I wish it was something that would pick you up, but it is something that stopped me in my tracks. And I just want to say one thing. Over here in the West, we look at Christianity in one of two ways. Number one, it's this blessed and highly favored, get something from God religion, right? Or number two, it's a very judgmental people who, put on a facade as if they're perfect, holier than thou religion. But I think that as a whole over here in the West, we just completely don't understand that in other parts of the world, persecution is taking place. We got brothers and sisters in countries where the Bible's banned, and if you're caught with it, you can die, you can get killed. Some really, really anti-Christian, mass majority Islamic regions terrorize our brothers and sisters in the faith. And I made a video about this about 3.5 years ago. This was regarding a topic that was based out of China at the time. But this has been going on for longer than 3 years. This has been going on for decade upon decade, century upon century. Our brothers and sisters in Christ are going through hell as we speak, while those of us here in the USA, we constantly got our hands out like this, like, God, I'm paying my tithes. Can you bless me with this? I'm going to church. Can you bless me with a husband? Can you bless me with a wife? Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do that? Can you do this? And we're not experiencing any type of pain, any type of persecution, any type of problems whatsoever over here in the USA. At the worst, it would probably be maybe a little bit of mocking on the internet. And that's it. From your atheists and from your agnostics and your evolutionists, that, God doesn't exist. Saying things of that nature. But I want to share with you all the story. Now, this is old, not that old, but it was published. Let's see, there was a date here. It was published December the 29th. So a couple of days after Christmas. And it says here, Christmas massacre challenges secular explanations of Nigeria conflict. So if we'll scroll down here and I'll just go ahead and read the story to you. At least 140 Nigerian Christians were killed over the Christmas holiday. Now listen. How many Christians in America were killed the week of Christmas? The day of Christmas? How many? None. It grieves my spirit to know that there are people who are dying who believe in Jesus, but this occurred in the book of Acts as well, to where you were not free to say anything about Jesus. You were not free to believe in the risen Messiah without consequences. Attacks on 26 villages in the Plateau State began December the 23rd, led by suspected extremists among Fulani Muslim herdsmen against Christian farming communities. Some media reports cite nearly 200 dead, with many missing as local residents fled from the gunmen into the bushes. These were innocent men, women, children who were just minding their business in their communities, farming, taking care of themselves, taking care of their herd, and they were slaughtered. And for what? For what? For being a Christian. You tell me any other belief that is under fire like Christianity. Oh, wait. Because on this side of the world, they already demonized Christians as it is over here in America. But over here in Nigeria, they're actually taking it way beyond that and murdering. 200 dead and many missing. So that probably means that there are others who have met their demise. But Jesus said, blessed is he that loseth their life for his name's sake. You don't hear that in churches. Your pastor's not going to give you a sermon on that at all, because it'll cause you to leave. It'll cause you to get out of the church. You don't want to hear those messages. They don't think you want to hear those messages, but these are the words that Jesus said. Blessed is he who loseth their life for my name's sake. How many people are actually willing to die for Jesus? Grace Godwin was preparing Christmas Eve dinner when her husband burst into the news from the neighboring village, ordering her and the children into the field. Rebecca Maska similarly took cover but was shot and bled for 3 hours until help arrived, while her son had his hand chopped off with a machete before escaping. Maggot Mansion dragged his wounded brother to safety and hid overnight until the attackers moved. This is horrible. What a nightmare. Like, it literally sounds like something out of a horror film. Imagine just these terrorists coming out of nowhere, shooting everywhere, trying to decapitate people, cutting hands off. Just the sheer horror that's taking place. I can't imagine what was going through their minds. These attacks have been reoccurring, Macomb told Reuters, having returned home from the regional capital of Jos to celebrate Christmas. They want to drive us out of our ancestral land. For years, violence has plagued the West African nation's Middle Belt, where it's predominantly Muslim, northern inserts with a predominantly Christian South. Now listen, I just highlighted this so people can look at it. Okay? Because whether you want to believe it or not, Islamic extremists, they're responsible for this. And there's so many people out here who will try their best to back up Islam, to support Islam, to even have the nerve to say that Islam is a peaceful religion. I beg to differ. I've never seen a group of Christians terrorize a Muslim village. Like if somebody out there can show me one story, one story of this occurring, then I will report on it. But this doesn't just occur in Africa. This occurs in places like Afghanistan. This occurs over in Pakistan. There's Christians everywhere. But they can't just come out and say it because things like this occurred. It's ridiculous. Lands rights issues are also contested as the Semitic cattle herders press against settled, arrogant, helmless, and Africa's most populous nations. The Christmas massacre were the worst attacks since 2018. A local publication tallied an additional 201 deaths in the Plateau State in the first half of 2003. So the beginning of 2003, there were an additional 201 people who were killed in this same region. Across the Middle Belt, at least 2,600 people were killed in 2021. 2,600 people. This is just demonic. Like the enemy utilizes these empty vessels to have them kill, steal, and destroy God's people. And it grieves me because you don't hear about this stuff in America. Your church has not heard about this type of stuff because they're not looking. Like, I feel that every church should at least make mention of our foreign brothers and sisters in Christ. At least make mention of it. I don't hear it, unfortunately, at my church. I don't believe I've ever heard it at any church at that. And it just leads me to believe, well, what is the point in church if we're not going to uplift our brothers and sisters that are across the way that's going through stuff like this? According to the most recent data by Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, the Northern Governor Forum called the attacks reprehensible and heinous. It was further condemned by the National Muslim Organization, Jamadi Nazirul Islam, which is called the attacks barbaric, but within the context of the cycle of violence. So you have people who are representing the Muslim organization who are condemning these actions. But what about when the Quran clearly says things like if somebody does not worship Allah or they deny Allah, you have to kill them. Kill the infidel. And there's so many other passages in the Quran that clearly condone a killing or beheading and attacking those who oppose their belief. The chairman of the Mahida Allah Cattle Breeders Association, however, blamed the whole problem on the alleged incident of the cattle rushing into which 3 Fulani cow breeders were killed. But the report was downplayed by the head of the Multi-Security Task Force in the Plateau State, who linked to an initial incident of cow grazing in the potato fields. Chased away by farmers, the parties agreed to negotiate a settlement, he said. So I know we're not trying to blame this on like cows getting loose, really. I'm going to put a link of this whole story because this is pretty lengthy, okay? I will put this in the description of this this video if you want to check it out. You know, a lot of people complain about living in America, like, oh, this is the worst country in the world, and we got so many problems. And this country does have a lot of problems. It really, really does. There's a lot of backwards happening right now. There's a lot of wickedness being condoned right now. But we're not dealing with anything like this. And this should make every believer just really sit down in silence and think about what it's like professing the faith over there. Like what it's really like. Trying to live an honest life in the fields farming only to be slaughtered. And the intentionality behind doing it around Christmas, that was like intentional, that was strategic, that was to make a point that this was 100% satanic, demonically pressed and filled, and it's horrible. And it just makes you sit like, man, like I remember I struggled with this like years ago. Like, what can we do for them over there? Like, they're so far away. Like, it's not like we could just get on a plane and go over. Like, what can we do? Well, the only thing we can do for our brothers and sisters across the sea is pray. Pray. Prayer has the capability of changing things. It really does. I'm sure there's probably some relief foundations that are linked to Africa that if you want to donate and contribute to helping some of those people get back on their feet and possibly find shelter. But then it's like at the same time, it's like what's really going to stop this from happening again? Like what's really going to stop them from coming back and doing it again? Because they have been harassing Christians in Africa for a long time, a really long time. And not just harassing, but killing, kidnapping girls into sex trafficking, and just being heinous. I mean, I'm not bringing this story to make you feel bad, but I just want you to think that you got brothers and sisters somewhere else that's just really going through it right now. And I know a lot of people probably don't want to hear this, but there's going to come a day in this country where this will be a reality. I don't know when that day is going to be. I'm not sure how far along we got, but I know at the direction we're headed, and as much as we are pushing God out of the country and putting our trust in the devices of man and condoning wickedness and sin, calling it okay, there will be a point of time where America is going to undergo some serious persecution. Serious. Stay prayed up, folks. Stay close to Jesus. Pray for your brothers and sisters around the world. I love you all. Thank you very much for watching. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.